Welcome to Recap Planet. Today, I'm going to recap an action, sci-fi thriller film from 2011 named, In Time. A voiceover introduces the state of the world where time has become a form of currency due to scientific advancements that allow people to stop aging at 25. However, the catch is that they are genetically engineered to live only one more year after that. People can earn more time through work, but they have to sell it for goods and services. Once their time runs out, they die. Will Salas is a young man living in Dayton, a poor ghetto in the southwest USA. He lives day by day, earning just enough to survive and sharing time currency with his perpetually youthful mother, Rachel Salas, who has 2 days of work in the garment district on her 50th birthday. She gives Will 30 minutes for lunch, and they plan to celebrate when she gets back. Everyone has a luminous green digital clock on their arms, counting down. Will is generous and gives 5 minutes to a young beggar girl, Maya. On his way to work, Will buys a coffee but notices that the price has gone up. As he walks, he sees dead bodies in the streets. Will works in a metal stamping plant, making shiny cassettes. After his shift, he realizes that he is paid less and that quotas have gone up. Will meets his friend Borel at a bar, where they see a man treating everyone to drinks and drawing attention to his arm, which lists him as having over 116 years. Will knows that the man does not belong to the ghetto and is likely to draw attention to himself. The Minutemen, a criminal gang, show up armed and ready to forcibly take the man's time. The gang leader, Fortis, is actually 75 years old. Borel and the rest of the bar scatter, but Will interferes and helps the man escape. The two flee from the Minutemen and eventually find an old building to hide in. The man introduces himself as Henry Hamilton and tells Will of the time as currency system. The time as currency system was established as a means of population control after the advances made in anti-aging processes. However, people were still surviving, so inflation and lower wages were designed to keep the population in control. This currency system also meant that the rich could live much longer than normal and essentially become immortal, while the poor died. Henry, however, is tired of living for so long. Will is indignant and tells Henry that the rich do not deserve their time. He tells Henry that he does not want his time. Unwilling to abandon the depressed man, Will offers to stay with him until the morning. At dawn, Henry passes his time to a sleeping Will. A message telling Will Salas not to waste the 116 years of time he has wakes him up. He sees Henry, the man who gave him the time, seated on the bridge's edge, planning to commit suicide. Will runs out to stop him, but he misses him by a fraction as Henry's time runs out, and he falls into the stormwater channel. Will sees street cameras recording him and returns home. Will meets Borel and his family and shows him his new time as a thank you gesture for being his friend. Will wants to take his mom to New Greenwich, but Borel warns him that staying in Dayton with that much time would get him killed. Rachel pays off a 2-day loan at a Weiss ATM machine and tries to board a bus to go home. However, the fare has gone up to 2 hours, and she has only 90 minutes left. In a panic, she has to run. Will is waiting at the bus stop, realizes something is wrong and runs toward Rachel. They meet somewhere in between, but it is too late as Rachel dies in her son's arms. Will calls a private stretch Lincoln limo to pick him up and take him to New Greenwich. He passes through 4 toll booths with progressive fares into a gleaming modern but sparsely populated city center. He cleans himself up to dine at a nice restaurant, where a young lady across the room takes notice. The waitress advises him to slow down, blend in with the rich, and suggests a nearby casino. Henry's body is discovered by the timekeepers, a body of authority similar to the police. Raymond Leon notices the street cameras and examines the footage. When he expresses surprise at seeing Will's photo, his colleagues ask him if he knew the suspect and whether or not he had a criminal record. Raymond corrects them, telling them he did not know the current Will Salas but he did know the senior Will Salas. The timekeepers mobilize to locate Will Salas. Will goes to a casino where he meets Philippe Weiss, who is considered to be one of the richest men in the world. Will participates in a high-stakes poker game and wins, earning over 1,000 years of time. Philippe and his daughter Sylvia are impressed by Will's victory. Philippe invites Will to his mansion for another party and Will agrees, buying a Jaguar E-Type to drive to the Weiss mansion on the coast. At the mansion, Philippe reintroduces Will to Sylvia, as well as his wife Michelle and mother-in-law. They all look the same age due to their immense wealth. The women are constantly followed by guards, but Will convinces Sylvia to have fun and let loose. Sylvia admits she wishes she could do something wild and crazy, feeling oppressed by her father and his men. While skinny dipping in the ocean, Philippe comes looking for her, but Will manages to convince Sylvia to leave with him. The timekeepers confront Will and Raymond. One of the timekeepers takes back the 1,000 years Will won in the poker game. Raymond hints that he knew Will's father and leaves. Will fights off the other timekeepers and escapes with Sylvia, taking her hostage. Raymond commits himself to chasing them, even taking personal risks that other timekeepers avoided. After a car chase, Will manages to throw Raymond off their trail and they return to Dayton. However, the car is wrecked in a trap set by the Minutemen while Will and Sylvia remain unconscious. The Minutemen discover that Will only has a little time left and so they take Sylvia's time instead, as she has about a decade. The men are forced to run before they could take all of Sylvia's time. Sylvia panics as she has never been reduced to having so little time. Will tells Sylvia that she should not be worried since regular people live day by day. He takes her to find Borel, hoping that he could give them some time. Unfortunately, he learns that Borel has died with his riches, leaving his wife and newborn alone. Will manages to buy some more time by pawning off Sylvia's diamond earrings, but he knows that it's not enough. He decides to call Philippe and demands a 1,000-year ransom for Sylvia's safe return, to be sent to the Time Welfare Office. Raymond listens in on the call and warns Will not to follow in his father's footsteps. Will learns that his father's crime was not just stealing time but something much more serious. Raymond figures out where Will is hiding and assures Philippe that he will bring Sylvia back safely. At Will's apartment, Raymond explains how his father used to win time contests by being an armed fighter and demonstrates the trick. The next day, the ransom remains unpaid, and Will tell Sylvia that it's likely because her father was prevented by the timekeepers. However, Sylvia sees it as proof that her father doesn't care about her. Will decides to let her go and gives her a gun to protect herself in case of danger. They kiss and split up so that Sylvia can make her call, but just then, Raymond appears and nearly shoots Will. A panicked Sylvia shoots Raymond instead, and Will attempts to take Raymond's time. However, Raymond has very little time on him, and Will only manages to get 4 hours from him before stealing his car and leaving him behind in the ghetto. Sylvia realizes that using a police car would draw attention to them, so they decide to rob another limo and its passenger, who turns out to be a blonde woman dressed like a hooker. They learn that they have both been placed on a wanted poster with a 10-year reward for anyone who can bring them to the authorities. Meanwhile, Philippe studies a large map of the world with colored lights and numbers, reassuring his business partners that his daughter will not crash the current economic system. Raymond manages to escape the ghetto, but he's injured and verbally harassed the whole time. When he meets with Philippe, he attempts to bribe Raymond into rescuing his daughter, but Raymond tells him that due to Sylvia's actions, an arrest warrant will be issued for her as well. If Philippe interferes and tries to save his daughter, Raymond will have him arrested too. Will train Sylvia how to use a handgun, and she offers to help him get time. Together, they drive an armored car through a Weiss bank window and scoop up many time cassettes. They invite onlookers to grab what they can also, and the large status board shows the imbalance. This endears them to most people in the ghetto. Weiss watches the news report of the robbery as his wife chides him for suffocating the people. At a motel, Will and Sylvia become closer but sense that something is up. They barely escape Ray and his squad in a running gun battle, with Ray alone taking after them over rooftops. They manage to bribe a bus driver and escape. In a seedy hotel, Will and Sylvia rent the whole building for privacy. However, Fortis and his gang arrive and rouse civilians until one admits where he saw the two runaways. Will and Sylvia describe how they went through the change at age 25 when the green numbers begin counting down. Fortis reveals that it is not just the rich and the timekeepers oppressing normal citizens, but the Minutemen are also being allowed to do so as long as they do not start preying on the rich. He challenges Will to an armed fight to the death. As the two men lock arms together, Will's time runs down fast. Will uses his trick to reverse the flow, then manages to pull a gun from his boot and kills Fortis and his henchmen. Will is dismayed and figures it will take 1,000,000 years to change the system. Sylvia knows where they can find that time. She returns home, pretending to turn herself in, distracting her father and his multiple guards so that Will could sneak up on him. Under gunpoint, they take Weiss to his office and open a large vault where they find a single cassette with 1,000,000 years. Philippe tries to convince them that it is always in an individual's interest to live forever, even at the cost of another's, but the two runaways are unconvinced. After locking Philippe in the office, the two again return to Dayton. While keeping the timekeepers distracted, they pass the 1,000,000 cassette to Maya, the little girl. Will and Sylvia are being pursued by Raymond in a remote area as they run toward the town of Livingstone. They are all running out of time, and Will realizes that Ray is a Dayton homeboy who is simply doing his job as an honest cop. Unfortunately, Ray times out and dies in front of them because he forgot to get his per diem. Will manages to transfer the per diem from the police car's console device to himself just seconds before the police arrive. He rushes back to Sylvia and transfers some time to her, saving her life. However, They only have enough time left for one day. The Daytons go on strike and march toward New Greenwich. Meanwhile, the timekeepers watch the news and decide that their jobs are done. There is a 100-year bounty on Will and Sylvia, but they still pull up in front of a large institution, armed with their guns, to carry out their biggest heist yet. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment and let us know which film you want us to explore next. Take care.